Here's a question for you. How much ring could a Ringconn con if a Ringconn could con rings? Well, this video isn't about a con, but it is about a ring. It's the Ringconn Gen 2. Today we're exploring the world of smart rings, and in this video I'll show you what you get when you buy one of these, some of the surprising things it can do, and how the Ringconn Gen 2 differs to some of its competitors. I'll also cover any potential downsides you might want to think of before you buy one. Plus, I'll also tell you about a way to get an extra special discount on this, courtesy of Amazon Prime Day, which is right around the corner. I reckon smart rings have become popular for two big reasons. Firstly, as humans and machines get closer and closer together, we've got loads of cool ways of tracking lots of interesting information about our bodies. Watches and sensors are one way to do this, but rings are a cool way too. Secondly, when you look at some of these other methods, no offense to fitness watch owners, but they're not exactly nice to look at, are they? This, on the other hand, looks like a regular piece of jewellery. I'm going to let you into a secret here. When I've been testing this out, I actually left my wedding ring off for over a week because this fits my ring finger perfectly. And no one seems to have noticed, least of all my wife. Yeah, should I be worried about that? Anyway, I think this thing is quite beautiful. It's light and it feels a lot like a gadget from a spy film. It's packed full of cutting edge tech, but you just never know. If you're into activity monitoring, but you don't want to see something beeping and vibrating and distracting you every second, I'd definitely recommend checking this out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me show you what you get when you buy one of these. And by the way, a big thank you to the team at Ringconn for sending this out to me to test out. And if you already know your ring size, you can just order it straight away. But if you're not sure, you can order a free sizing kit to figure out which one you'll need. It's recommended to fit this on your ring finger or your index finger. There's something about the pulse being easier to detect in these ones, so you're going to get more accurate readings. You've got 4 colours to choose from: silver, gold, rose gold and black. I went with the silver because I'm a fan of the more stealthy look and I wanted to see if it could pass as my wedding ring undetected, which it did. In the box, you're going to find some paperwork, a nice long USB-C cable, and before we get to the ring, let's take a look at this. Some of the other brands in this space will give you a little charging podium or puck for the ring to sit on when it charges. Ringconn, on the other hand, give you a little box to keep everything safe. And not just that, but it's got a battery in the case. That means if you're going to go away for a few days and you know you're likely to need a juice up for your smart ring, there's no need to pack an extra cable. And besides that, the charger will hold enough to give you 150 days of battery life. That's a pretty massive trip you could take without ever needing to charge this thing. Just a quick note on battery: fully charged, this will give you up to 12 days of battery life, which is pretty wild for such a small device, given all the stuff that it's constantly tracking, which we will be getting to. Now, the thing you'll immediately notice when you pick this ring up is how incredibly light and thin it is. My size wasn't even 3 grams and it's barely thinner than my wedding ring. And before you can use it, you'll need to activate it in the app, pop in some vitals to let it know where your baselines are going to be for exercise monitoring, and then you're all good. There's no delay. It's going to start gathering data pretty much straight away. Now let's move on to talk about the main features of the Ringconn Gen 2. Well, the big one is sleep apnea monitoring. Now, if you don't know what sleep apnea is, it's a pretty big deal. It's basically like a traffic jam in your throat while you're sleeping. Now, if you suffer with sleep apnea, like a billion other people do worldwide, the air can't get through easily, and sometimes it even stops for a moment, and this makes your brain wake up over and over through the night to take care of things and clear your airway. Now, even though you might not remember waking up, your body will remember those constant interruptions, and you might feel super tired, grumpy, or even having trouble focusing the following day. Now, the Ringconn Gen 2 is the first smart ring to provide sleep apnea monitoring. It measures this to over 90% accuracy by looking at your heart rate, blood oxygen saturation, and how many times your breathing is blocked when you sleep through the night. You can set up special monitoring in the app and it'll give you a report after a few days telling you your risk levels. I was quite keen to see this as I know that I'm a snorer, but thankfully the report showed there was nothing to worry about. Let's look at some other areas of the app. Now, you get a daily view that gives you a score and visual for your sleep, your stress, vitals and activity. If you want to know any more about these, you can go deeper into each area below and that'll give you more information. So for instance, you can see sleep stages through the night and even monitor your heart rate 24/7 to to keep an eye on any fluctuations. I actually quite like the fact that there's not too much information here, but if you're wanting to know more, you can always dive a bit deeper. And crucially, if you want to know what to do about all of this information, it'll give you some guidance on improving your scores. If you're a bit overwhelmed by this sort of thing and you'd rather not see it, you can choose to switch off certain measurements if you're not interested in seeing them. Luckily for me, it switched off tracking my menstrual cycle automatically. And while the app will continuously monitor things like steps, skin temperature, and heart rate for seeing how active you are, it does also have an exercise tracking facility. I tried this on a bunch of activities, including running, spin classes, and also outdoor cycling, and found it did a pretty good job of tracking what was going on. Definitely in line with what other metrics were telling me about those kind of workouts. And one annoying thing though was that it didn't seem to know if I was working out unless I manually told it to start and end that workout. Obviously on something like an Apple Watch, you get that little nudge of, hey, it looks like you're working out. Do you want to maybe track this? Feels like that part of the app could be a bit smoother and smarter rather than having to have that extra thought of, hey, I'm 5 minutes into a run and my heart rate is elevated, but I forgot to start a workout. So my Ring doesn't actually know I'm doing it. A couple of other thoughts on the app. They've got these built-in plans that you can sign up to, such as improving your sleep or getting some body and mind improvements going. These are all included, by the way. There's no extra cost, and it's all very customized to what you're interested in working on. It's really nice. And there's also this little AI button, which gives some simple insights that you can interact with that will let you learn a bit more about your body. What else in terms of features? Well, I didn't try this in the water, but this is IP68 certified. That means it's waterproof up to 100 meters, so you can wear it in the shower, doing the washing up, and also while swimming without the worry of anything getting damaged. Also, I know I mentioned this one already, but I feel it's a really important feature. This thing is so light. I've tried a few of these smart rings out now, and this is by far the thinnest and lightest I've used. The closest thing to a simple piece of jewelry that you're likely to find. That means it's going to be super comfortable for wearing through the day, and importantly, in bed at night. You're just not going to know it's there. There is something else that I wanted to touch on because a few people have asked me about this ahead of making the review. Does it actually work if you leave your phone at home? Well, I tried this and yes, it does. And you will need to get to your phone at some point to access all the data from the Ring and update all your stats. And you're not going to be able to track your location accurately, like seeing where you've been on a long run or a walk. You still need a phone handy to do that. But if you wanted to go forth free of the distractions of your phone, you can use this and it'll keep an eye on what you've been up to. You'll get your steps and your heart rate data the next time you switch your phone on. Let's move on to talk about what other brands you might be looking at if you're thinking about buying a smart ring. Well, a well-known one in this space is the Oura ring, and I've got to be honest, I'm a bit shocked as to why. Their pricing model is just bizarre because you have to buy their ring, which by the way costs $349, but then you have to pay $70 a year to access all the things you'd expect to get from that ring. Sleep analysis, heart rate monitoring, temperature trends, they're all locked down unless you give them more money. Who's buying this? It's like buying a car that doesn't come with any wheels. What? Suffice to say, the Ringconn Gen 2 comes with all of those features as standard. There's no ongoing subscriptions or anything daft like that. And you also have the UltraHuman Smart Ring Air, which has the same price as the Oura Ring. It's got no subscription and a really full-featured app that has lots more on the workout tracking front and also includes things like calorie intake too. If you're easily overwhelmed by data though, this might be a step too far for some people. I actually wore both the UltraHuman and the Ringconn Gen 2 during my testing, and I found that both of them were really accurate in measuring my activity across the board. No clear winner there in terms of being the best at sleep or activity tracking. However, whilst UltraHuman has some smart battery-saving features, that ring really cannot compete with Ringconn in terms of battery life. You're going to be lucky to get 5 days out of the UltraHuman ring before you need a recharge, whereas in my testing with the Ringconn Gen 2, it really lived up to the 12-day promise, even with regular workouts during that period. I think this is especially impressive given that Ringconn Gen 2 monitors heart rate 24/7, which should use more battery, but the UltraHuman ring only does this at given intervals during the day. I don't really understand how that's possible, but it is exactly what I found. So there are lots of reasons why someone might buy this smart ring, but are there any reasons why you shouldn't? Well, you know I like to give an honest review, folks, and yeah, there are a few things you should consider before you go ahead and buy one. Firstly, if you're a big fan of lifting weights to keep fit, you might want to give smart rings a miss just in general. These things are usually made out of titanium alloy, but if you're throwing your weight around in the gym, at best, you're going to scratch this up At worst, you might even damage the way it works. Now, secondly, if you've got any kind of mobility issues like being on crutches, a smart ring will really struggle to cope with this. So even though you are going to be taking steps, it's unlikely to be able to track them accurately. This isn't Ringconn specific, but you will find this with most fitness devices. Number 3, now I hope this one is self-explanatory, but just for the avoidance of doubt, there isn't any screen on here. So if you want to look at any of your stats or explore some of the insights from your activity, you are going to need to do that through the app. So if you're looking for something that is about getting away from screens, it is ultimately unavoidable. At number 4, this isn't really Ringconn's fault. It's also a bit of a general issue in the tech industry at the moment, but do keep an eye on currency fluctuations. This retails at $299 US or $299 sterling or €349 euros. Now, you don't need to be a currency expert to know that if you're buying in sterling or euro, UK and European buyers get a bit of a rough deal there. But don't worry too much, because my top tip would be to grab this on Amazon over Prime Day. That's July 8th to the 11th, by the way. Here you'll be able to get a 20% discount on the Ringconn Gen 2. Plus, I heard on the grapevine that Ringconn are running a special promotion from July the 1st until the 14th, offering up to 25% off if you buy a 2-pack. Not that one. I'm going to link all of that information down below. So in summary, if you're the kind of person who wants to track their sleep and activity but doesn't want a device permanently strapped to their wrist that is big enough to have its own address, you should definitely check out the Ringconn Gen 2 Air. Or if, like me, you just wanted to see how observant your husband or wife is, then yeah, give it a go. As always, folks, if you've got any questions about this one, let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see other ways that I use tech to stay active, you'll probably like this video over here. Yeah, see you next time, folks.